In this video, we're going to look at Cursor's new background agents mode and how we can set that up. Background agents in Cursor allows you to kind of do what Codex and Copilot are doing, where you can just start to schedule some work in the background and have a bunch of AI agents working on things in the background. You're managing them, code reviewing them once they're complete with their tasks or whatever. So we'll take a look at setting that up. So we're going to set this up on the Rapid Ruby code base. I've already got Cursor set up with rules and everything like that. So we've just got Cursor rules folder and all my rules for the code base. I'll link to a blog post in the description of how you can set all those up, what you should put in them, and basically how you can get Cursor to be awesome at Rails development. I've already set this up on Happy. So Happy is my customer support side project, which has a bunch of AI stuff in it. And for the Cursor background stuff, they actually run in the cloud, which is cool. So I thought initially they'd run on your machine in the background, but they run in the cloud. So what you actually set up is a Docker file, which will be your Rails install, Postgres, Redis, whatever you need. And then a setup script. So in your setup script, essentially, you can have your install and all that sort of stuff. So the way it kind of works is the Docker file is just a base environment. So you'll want your Ruby version and Node version if you need it, and things like that, and all the software required. So you might want like Postgres running, Redis running, all of that stuff. Then once this hits the cloud, it's going to run your Docker file. It's going to do a git pull on your code. So in the Docker file, you don't want to copy across your code into it like you might for a development machine or a production machine. It's going to check out your code in GitHub, pull it all down. Then after it does that, it's going to run your setup script. And this is kind of like after it's already checked out your code and everything like that. Then it runs this in order to get set up. And then it'll do the work and commit the changes and whatever. So the first thing we need is the Docker file, and I'll share links to these in the description as well. So I'm starting from a base Ruby image, so I'm starting from 3.3.4, and I'm pretty sure that's what Rapid Ruby's on as well, 3.3.4. Obviously you can change that depending on what you need. The first thing you'll do here is go to Cursor settings, and you will enable the background agent beta. Then you will need to add your GitHub access. So go in and connect that. Then depending on the project, there's base environment settings or whatever, and you'll go to use Docker file. And we can go here, open Docker file, and it creates it and makes it empty. So we'll just paste in all of this stuff and have a look here. Obviously I'm getting it to create database tables for Happy Dev, Happy Test. I will change those over to Rapid Ruby. So we've got Ruby, set the time zone. You can set the time zone to whatever you want. Postgres. Then we've got PG Vector. I'll leave that in because it's good to have, especially if you're doing any vector embeddings or anything like that with AI. I'm not on Rapid Ruby at the minute, but we might start to do stuff like that. So we'll just leave that alone for now. Node 16, you probably want to bump the Node version to a more, to higher up version. I'm going to leave it for now because I'm not really using Node other than Tailwind, I think. So we'll leave that. Install bundler, creating a user, setting it to allow sudo, and then we get to the Postgres stuff. So we'll just check in here, database.yaml. It should be Rapid Ruby development and Rapid Ruby test. So we'll go here, Happy development, do this, and the same here for test, and we'll save. So that should be everything we need set up in the Docker file. And then we come across to the environment where we've got runtime configuration, we've got install script and startup script. I think we can create a file like this essentially. So if we come into here, .cursor, and do setup.sh, paste in this for now. And if we make that executable, so you'll do chmod +x .cursor setup, and that should be fine. And we'll go to the cursor settings, runtime configuration, and do .cursor setup.sh and hit enter. And we'll see if that has done anything. I don't think it has. Base environment, let's check the settings in here. It's got a bunch of default terminals. There we go. So save to cursor environment is what we want to call there. So that means it's per project. If you start tinkering with this and don't save to cursor environment, it's going to be like your global settings. So now we can go back to runtime configuration. We've got our setup script. We can go default terminals and do things like let's just copy them across from this one. But you can add one for each kind of task that your app can run. So you can basically allow the background agent to run a Rails dev server if it wants. You can tell it to run the Tailwind watch, ES build watch. This app doesn't use ES build, so we'll just get rid of that. Sidekick as well. I don't think this uses Sidekick. I think it uses solid queue. So solid queue start, I think. Rails console and RSpec, those are all good. So Tailwind watch then, I think it's something, let's see. Tailwind, CSS, Rails, its own command. So we'll just look for the command here. I think it'll be bundle exec. Bundle exec, Tailwind, CSS watch. Like that. And save. So that's our environment setup. It's been told how to run everything. We will go back then to the setup script and we'll look here. Happy was using some stuff in .m files and credentials and a mixture, but we can remove that and then install. We don't need yarn install. Pre-compile assets might be useful, might not. It's not really required for development. And then start the Postgres and Redis servers and migrate the database. Those things are good. I added these in because there's a VS Code settings file or whatever, and I like to check that in to the repo because it's mainly just me working on this app. And whenever the AI checks all of this out and sets it up, its settings are different and that file starts changing. And every time you get it to do some work, it's then looking to commit its changes to the VS Code settings file or whatever. So I just do this kind of hack to say, anything I ask you, you're never going to be editing VS Code settings. So we're just going to tell Git that that file never changed, even if it does. So we'll save this. There is one more thing I need to do here, and it's kind of annoying. The secrets appear to be global. So my Rails master key here is actually the one for happy. And I haven't set up a Rails master key as part of RapidRuby here. So what we're going to need to do is add RapidRuby master key or something like that. And then in here in the setup script, essentially expose that a little differently. So I don't think I have this in the Docker file at all. I think no. So it must get injected afterwards. So that's all fine. We'll go to the settings and secrets and we'll add RapidRuby master key. And I will just pause the video and come back when I've added that. So I've added in the RapidRuby master key, and then we'll go in here and we'll call this set the Rails master key, and we'll do export Rails master key equals, and then we can do rapid Ruby master key. I don't know if we need a dollar in front of that or not. Let's just check in our own terminal here just to make sure. So we can do export rapid Ruby master key is ABC, and then we can run this. So that doesn't work. So maybe we take out these like this, and then we go echo. So that works, and we can save this. And I don't know if there's a on export or something to clean up my terminal, or just exit. That should do the trick. So if we save this and we'll commit those changes, set up cursor, background agents, and we need to push those as well. So you need to commit those changes and push them up, because it's going to pull your code from GitHub. So now what you can do is press Command E, and you've essentially got Claude 4 Opus Max. I'll do Sonnet Max because Opus is good, but it seems to be really expensive for things, and Sonnet seems to perform pretty much just as good. The background agents are only max mode for now, so you can't do anything other than max mode, but this one's not too expensive. And you can do the same things where you add context and tell it about certain files and all of that sort of stuff. So essentially here, a good kind of test is just, can you ensure that your environment is set up correctly by running the following test. And we can do files and folders spec, user spec. And let's just run that and see what happens. So you'll see here we get in progress new background agent. You can close this at any time, continue doing what you're doing, work with the normal agent stuff inline, and you can always get back to this with Command E. You can press Command E again to go into like full screen mode and see your various agents and whatever, what they're doing, what they're up to. So I'm just going to pause this while this is all setting up and running, and we'll come back when it's got somewhere. And now we're in the process of it running. So it's done all of the setup and the Docker containers up and running, and now it's just going ahead and running this stuff. I've accidentally included my setup file in here, so it's taking a look at that. I don't know why. And now it's running migration, and now it's running the user spec, and it's all finished. So it's coming through and telling me everything's set up correctly, which is good. And that means we can now set it to run on much longer tasks. The only thing I would make a change to is maybe in the rules when it comes to testing. What we can say is something along the lines of, you have an environment set up with RSpec, and you can run individual tests or individual specs as you work. And that's one thing that will actually be beneficial for the normal context as well, because it might start doing some TDD for you. So we'll just commit that to cursor testing instructions, and now that's all working. So can I set it to do something a little bit more complex? So for the next part, I want to essentially get this background agent working on something. If you go to the Rapid Ruby Premium dashboard, you'll see there's a bunch of things here. So there's premium courses. So if you go to the Rapid Ruby Premium dashboard, you'll see that there's premium courses. There's AI tools, which I've marked as coming soon. And these are just going to be useful tools for like freelancing or taking on contract work or things like that. And there's premium resources, which just launched. So there's a couple of things in there, and there's a good review service. So What I want to start with here is essentially looking at the contract generator. So I'm not going to use AI to build all of this because I have a bunch of knowledge around contracts and things like that over the years, and I'll put my own touch on it, but AI can maybe have a stab at the first kind of draft of the code of this. So we'll go back to Cursor now, and I already have app agents set up, and I've got application agent. So this uses langchain.rb, and it essentially has some methods for generating instructions, running custom tool calls, things like that. And I've got a spam detect agent for comments that will go through and detect if comments are spam or anything like that. And we can use this as an example of how the AI can craft its own custom agent. So we'll go to a new background agent. As you can see, we've got environment set up, run successfully. So now we can say, I want you to make a new AI agent. Check spam detect agent for how this should be set up. This agent should be called contract generator agent and should help generate a software development contract for use either as freelance or as part of a long-term contract development role. Set up the agent and some specs for it. Actually, I want to check, do we have VCR set up in the specs? I would do. So we should have spec VCR helper. Yep. I set up some specs for it and include the VCR helper so that it can hit the real OpenAI API but be cached after that. And the only thing I want to check is my VCR helper. We want to put in a filter sensitive data open API key and set it up like this. So we'll commit that change first, and now we can run this and see how it works. So you can see it runs, if you're watching it, exactly the same way as it does running the cursor stuff yourself. But obviously the idea with the background ones is that you can schedule a bunch of tasks all in parallel, close them and ignore them until it's finished the work, and then go in and review what it's done in code review essentially. So this should be a linter, right? It's testing the linting and stuff like that as well. Anyway, I'm gonna leave this until it's finished and we'll come back and take a look at the end result. And we're finished. So it ran for somewhere around 15-minute mark, and this screen can seem like a little bit slow. We'll hit refresh here. And from here, once it's finished, what you can do is view all the changes, check out the branch locally, import it into local chat, anything like that, or create a pull request. So I like to go ahead and create a pull request. And we're getting failed to create PR internal error. That's not good. So we'll copy the branch name and we'll go over to GitHub. So let's go to phog rapid Ruby and let's go new pull request and compare. Let's go for this and hit create. So if we go into the changes here, we'll see we've got our contract generator agent.rb, inherits from application agent, looks the same kind of structure and whatever as it does with the spam agent. It's obviously given it a lot of options, which I don't know if I want to do that or not, but we can see, I guess before we do the contract generation, we could get the user to type out a bunch of things in terms of client name, client company, all that sort of stuff. It should have that up front. And then once we have perform build contract prompt, which goes through, builds prompt, inputs all those variables, and it looks like some of them are optional as well. So the client company is optional, and financial terms section, timeline section, and then creates an AI agent message with the prompt and calls the generate function. So that's good. Contract content comes back and it uses the same dry.rb monads result for success or failure. That looks good. So we'll mark that as viewed. And then in here we've got the specs for it. So uses users and teams fixtures, base params, puts in some example details, and it generates a contract successfully. So expects the contract comes back out and all this stuff works. And it's using VCR for these as well, which is good. With full parameters for freelance contract, saying that it comes out and there's a bunch more stuff in there with long-term contract parameters. Okay, yeah, this looks fairly solid. The only thing I'd want to check is obviously that the VCR specs are running, although if it's checking in each of the VCR cassettes, I'm assuming that it's run the tests itself and figured all that stuff out for me. So I'll view that, go back to conversation here, and all checks have passed. The build has fully passed, so everything should be good there. The only thing I'll just do for the sake of this is go in, close this out, and do a git fetch, check out this, and let's go to our contract agent, run the specs ourselves, and that's all working. The only thing that is not working is something initializer for langchain. So if I go back to happy here and copy that over, langchain.rb, copy this, paste it in. This essentially sets the langchain log level for test to be info. Whenever we run this again, there should be no output from langchain into our specs. So I like my specs to just be the green dots and nothing else. So that's now working. So we can commit that change, silence langchain in test.env, push that up, and let CI run on that branch just to do the tests. Should be good to merge that in. So that's probably going to be a pretty good starting point for the contract agent, and it's good that it's all tested and passing. And I'll obviously take this and add in my own knowledge and flair to it of whatever it is, and then build a UI for this as well, so you can enter in all those params in a form, all of these things, and hit submit and have it generate you the contract that way, and maybe even have some kind of save as PDF functionality or something like that, just to make it easy for you. I hope that was interesting. It was a bit longer than I expected with getting set up and all of that, but hopefully, as I say, the setup scripts for all those things will be in the description, and hopefully that'll get you set up with Cursor, background agents and Rails a little bit faster than I did, and hopefully it's useful for you.